I don't think people realize how much AI is gonna change the world. There has to be a way we can make universal basic income works. Kalau ketika gue bicara healing, bukan soal balik ke state sebelumnya, tapi soal moving on. Okay, maybe some people are lucky enough, kelihatannya di outside they don't have all of those problems, tapi trust me, behind the scene, deep inside, pasti ada something else yang kayak make them experience that duality gitu. We just don't know it gitu kan. We just judge them to be living perfect lives. That state, whatever it is, some people call it ada apa namanya Akashic records gitu kan. Some religions describe it as the book of life. Different religions, different faiths have different ways to describe this. Kayak state of knowing everything, state of kayak non-duality yang every possible information is there gitu. In the past, in the present, and in the future. Even our human body aja not natural to our default spiritual state, ya kan? And then you add more things into the body yang gak natural gitu. So it dampens the gut brain, and when the gut brain is damp, it dampens the mind, and it blocks the connection with the records.
Hello, welcome back to Anthem, Andari and the Theater of the Mind. Kali ini mau ngobrol-ngobrol seputar healing, leadership, dan juga spiritual awakening bersama dengan seorang entrepreneur muda sebenarnya ya, kebanggaan bangsa Indonesia yang merupakan founder dari 3 startup sekaligus ya, yang juga adalah seorang bapak. Please welcome Wafa Taftazani. Hello Wafa.
Halo, thank you Mbak Andari.
Welcome to Anthem Podcast. Gimana kabar hari ini?
Baik.
Seneng banget akhirnya bisa ketemu langsung ya.
Yes.
Setelah beberapa kali udah discuss kecil gitu kan, akhirnya baru ketemu sekarang. Sebenarnya udah ngobrol tuh dari tahun lalu ya.
Ya, dari tahun lalu.
Akhir tahun lalu, akhirnya baru ketemunya sekarang nih di tahun 2025. Gimana 2025 so far sampai pertengahan tahun ini menurut lo?
So far so good, banyak opportunity untuk berkembang lah. Mungkin gue mendescribe seperti itu.
Oke. Ini lo juga udah menjadi entrepreneur tuh kurang lebih berapa tahun ya?
Sekarang berarti udah 4 tahun.
Udah 4 tahun. Gimana perjalanannya sebagai seorang entrepreneur so far?
Seru banget, banyak banget pelajaran, banyak hikmah.
Asik. What's your biggest achievement?
My biggest achievement? Kayaknya ya just becoming an entrepreneur, bisa craft my own path, ya kan, dan bisa decide what I want to do with my life. Kita mau ngapain sama hidup kita, di field yang kita suka, di role yang kita suka, itu kayaknya achievement udah sih. Dan maksudnya, gue kan nggak dari awal jadi entrepreneur, gue kan kerja mungkin 10 tahun lebih sebagai karyawan gitu kan, quote unquote. Banyak belajar juga di sana, dan terus kemudian switch ke entrepreneurship, startups, that's an achievement in itself I think.
Challenge-nya apa aja?
Ternyata jadi entrepreneur itu banyak banget soal managing people, more than I thought it would be. Kirain kan entrepreneur itu akan mikirin yang detail-detail terkait finance, legal, product, operations, itu juga iya. Tapi ketika company-nya berkembang kan you have people working at the company yang kayak doing those functions kan. Dan ternyata jadinya lebih banyak mikirin gimana caranya motivate my team, inspire my team, incentivize my team gitu kan, supaya mereka terus bisa kerja dengan baik dan lain-lain. Ya sometimes dengerin curhat masalah mereka gitu kan.
Oke.
Nah ternyata itu porsinya lebih besar dari yang gue kira gitu.
Sebelumnya udah familiar gak sama hal kayak gitu, managing people waktu di kerjaan?
Sebenarnya lumayan, managing people itu udah lumayan ada pengalaman di corporate world lah ya sebelum jadi entrepreneur. Tapi ketika jadi entrepreneur, it's your people, it's your team. Ya kan, mereka yang lo hire, mereka yang lo coach, mereka yang lo motivate, lo develop. Kalau di corporate kan kayak, well ini kita sesama karyawan aja, kebetulan aja lo ditaruh di tim gue gitu misalkan atau something like that. Tapi kalau as an entrepreneur ya you cannot help but think that mereka join ke company lo dengan sadar gitu, karena mereka percaya dengan apa yang lagi lo mau build, apa yang mau lo lakukan. That creates a different kind of bond, I would say. Than if you were to manage the team as part of a corporation, ya kan, where you also work there gitu. But when you build a company, and then the people they're working at your company, and then you try to help them grow together with the company, beda sih.
Oke, lo ada kayak semacam apa ya, course khusus gitu gak sih untuk menjadi seorang leader nih ketika udah berperan sebagai entrepreneur?
Kayaknya course gue di lapangan.
Learning by doing ya?
Learning by doing, real life experiences. Tapi ya gue juga, mungkin bukan course, tapi kan gue juga punya mentor dan coach kan, yang orang-orang yang udah jauh lebih senior, jauh lebih pengalaman di bidangnya, yang dengan berbaik hati mau ngasih gue saran-saran, mau ngasih gue guidance. So I owe them a lot.
Role model lo siapa nih dalam bidang entrepreneurship?
Role model dalam bidang entrepreneurship, well, gue sih sangat-sangat inspired by figures like Sam Altman. Maybe I have a bias for big things that I think will change the world. Selalu excite gue. Gue tuh orangnya lumayan bosenan sebenarnya.
Oke.
Ya, lumayan bosenan dan bisa cepet pindah-pindah hal baru gitu ya. Kalau gue udah nggak nemuin excitement lagi atau interest lagi di hal yang sedang dikerjakan, yang udah gue pelajari tentang diri gue sendiri adalah ternyata selama beberapa tahun kebelakang gue harus excited about something sih untuk kayak continuously work on it. Gitu. Sometimes I have to excite myself, motivate myself gitu kan. Tapi some things are just kayak exciting by nature gitu. Big things yang changing the world. So gue sangat terinspirasi lah sama figur-figur kayak Sam Altman.
Yang paling bikin lo excited sekarang tuh apa sih?
Oke, mungkin excited bisa dibilang excited, tapi juga ada sedikit anxiety-nya sedikit juga ada.
Oke.
I don't think people realize how much AI is gonna change the world. Sekarang kan orang aware-nya AI, bikin gambar-gambar lucu Ghibli atau kayak nanti bikin video yang mirip sama real humans dan lain-lain gitu. But I think the shift that will happen there is going to be a lot more fundamental. Dan ini akan impact humanity as a whole.
Sefundamental apa sih?
Of course selalu ada dua skenario lah. Kita ambil dua skenario ekstrim. AI akan membuat dunia ini jadi distopia. Atau AI akan bikin kehidupan di dunia ini jadi jauh lebih baik. Let's say kita ambil skenario yang optimis. Gue harus selalu optimis gitu kan. Ambil skenario yang optimis, AI akan bikin dunia jadi lebih baik. Bentuknya apa sih dunia jadi lebih baik itu? Udah kebayang sebenarnya. Progres di berbagai bidang seperti misalnya medical, kemudian even in consumer, in manufacturing, in services, hospitality, tourism, even governance lah ya. Itu akan harusnya kalau AI bisa dipakai dengan baik itu akan jauh lebih baik hasilnya. Tapi at the same time kayaknya nanti akan ada titik di mana manusia akan bertanya peran gue dan apa di dunia ini gitu. Humanity will ask that question to ourselves. Kalau AI udah ngelakuin a lot of the things that we do today nih. Kan sekarang narasinya gitu, AI will take our jobs, segala macam. But selalu kayak gitu narasinya di setiap sebuah industrial atau technological revolution. Tapi yang jarang orang bahas adalah biasanya what's next setelah itu gitu. What happens to humanity setelah itu. Tidak seperti revolusi-revolusi sebelumnya seperti misalnya mesin uap atau listrik, batu bara, machinery, dan even assembly lines di pabrik gitu ya. I think revolusi yang kali ini akan agak berbeda. Karena dia langsung menyentuh ke pertanyaan siapa kita sebenarnya manusia, apa peran kita, kenapa kita ada di sini dan lain-lain gitu kan.
Oke.
Dan
It's
itu
a good
adalah
thing
pertanyaan yang harus kita jawab eventually, collectively.
Who am I?
Who am I? Who you are? Why are you here on Earth? Ya kan?
Lo udah mulai mempertanyakan itu ke diri lo?
I've always been asking that question to myself since the longest time. Yeah.
Oke.
For
Dari
as long
kapan
as I
tuh?
could remember.
Dari lo kecil gitu?
Mungkin nggak dari kecil, mungkin dari SMA gitu, dari
Oke.
SMA, dari zaman kuliah udah sering punya a lot of questions, existential questions lah. Who am I? What is my place? Ya kan? What is my role? People say there's a place for every man, and every man must be in his place gitu kan istilahnya. Nah itu terus gue tanyain gitu ya, dan jawabannya juga evolving terus, bukan berarti kayak pernah ada jawaban satu yang menjawab semuanya gitu, enggak. Ternyata
Sampai sekarang evolving terus.
yeah. As the question remains the same, but the answer evolves terus. Gitu. As I learn more about the world, as I learn more about myself, gitu kan. As I meet more people.
Dari awal lo nanya kayak gitu, who am I gitu, sampai akhirnya evolving terus jawabannya, terus sampai sekarang muncul AI ini, itu pendapat lo gimana?
I think humanity will evolve exponentially. We've always been evolving, okay, for tens of thousands of years, for millions of years. We've always been evolving dari single cell organism all the way to where we are today, gitu. But most of the evolution has been mostly physical, biological, ya kan. And I think some people believe that biologically now we are at almost like apex, kita udah almost kayak at the peak of our evolution biologically. But we're not only a biological creature, right? We're also an emotional creature. We're a spiritual creature. AI, I think that revolution yang akan touch that aspects of our lives. Ketika kita quote unquote terbebaskan dari pekerjaan yang membosankan gitu kan, pekerjaan yang bisa dilakukan nanti oleh robot, oleh AI, oleh mesin dan lain-lain. Kita akan punya free time, dan optimisnya adalah nanti maybe some sort of a UBI system will be in place, a universal basic income. Jadi di mana manusia akan perlu sejahtera, punya penghasilan, punya pendapatan tanpa perlu ada pekerjaan yang dilakukan gitu kan. Karena dunia sudah sangat maju, sudah sangat sejahtera, sehingga perekonomian global itu bisa lah membuat sistem universal basic income ini berjalan. Nah, dalam dunia yang seperti itu, yang gue harapkan seperti itu, karena the alternative is not looking good, ya kan.
I'm excited.
Yang gue harapkan yang terjadi adalah seperti itu.
Oke.
Kita kan akan punya banyak free time. Ya kan? Dan kita akan mulai bertanya, what do I do with my life, gitu kan. How can I feel that I have a place in the world, that I'm appreciated, that I'm seen, that I'm visible, that I'm recognized, ya kan. All these basic fundamental questions. Ketika lo udah gak harus kerja lagi ke kantor, lo udah gak punya bos, lo gak perlu ada KPI yang di-hit atau achievement yang di-appreciate, lo gak ada climbing the corporate ladder, gak di-promote kan, gak dapet penghargaan dari ini dan itu gitu. Akan ada triggering question sih pasti.
Universal basic income, itu yang menurut lo puncaknya dari keberadaan AI untuk humanity. Salah satu skenarionya menurut lo?
Bagian dari skenario yang ideal menurut gua. Karena alternatifnya adalah berarti ketika AI dan robots mulai mengambil alih pekerjaan dalam jumlah besar, harus ada kayak semacam retraining massal, reskilling massal gitu kan. Replacement massal terhadap pekerjaan-pekerjaan yang ada sekarang. Logistically speaking, gue nggak ngerasa itu visible dalam waktu dekat. We're talking about kayak potentially hundreds of millions of people unemployed gitu kan, maybe even billions. Every 1% increase in unemployment itu ada corresponding increase-nya in crime, ya kan, in mental health crisis, in deaths, ya kan. Dan a whole set of other societal problems gitu. For every 1% increase in unemployment. Karena kan impact-nya lo bisa bayangin kan, tiba-tiba keluarganya gak ada penghasilan. Terus pasti kan gak bisa nyekolahin anaknya, gak bisa ngasih makan. Jadi masalah dalam rumah tangga, nanti berantem sama tetangga. Nanti akhirnya bapaknya bingung, bapaknya jadi copet misalnya, segala macam kan. This thing itu kayak systemic gitu. Dan of course we're trying to do a lot of things. Kita doing retraining, reskilling, upskilling, yes, job placement dan lain-lain. Tapi kita akan terus ngelakuin itu, tapi I don't think kita bisa nyaman aja dengan ngelakuin itu dan bilang, oh we have solved the problem. Udah tinggal kita jalanin itu aja. I don't think it's gonna be that easy. Gitu. The change happening on the other side will be much faster than we can reskill and upskill our civilization.
Oke.
Jadi nggak akan ngejar nih gitu.
Ya.
Jadi alternatifnya adalah, well this of course my personal opinion, there has to be a way we can make universal basic income works. Kalau memang dunia akan sesejahtera itu, semaju itu, ya kan? There has to be a system where kayak at least basic human dignity itu terjaga gitu. Ya oke lah, bukan berarti semua orang kaya gitu kan. Bukan berarti semua orang kayak hidup mewah-mewahan, bukan itu. Tapi kayak basic human necessity lah. Kayak tempat tinggal, ya kan. Pakaian, makan, kesehatan, pendidikan itu bisa kayak taken care of. Dan setelah itu taken care of, ya humannya bebas gitu. Mau
Mau ngelakuin apa nih?
Exactly what they want to do with their lives gitu kan.
Keunggulan human dari AI itu kan kita emotional being salah satunya ya. Dari kita yang emotional being, kalau lo pribadi gitu, apa yang udah lo lakukan untuk bisa connect ke your emotion, tapi semacam dilatih terus gitu untuk itu bisa bermanfaat, dan udah sejauh apa lo explore emotion on the deeper level untuk akhirnya itu bisa menjadi satu manfaat gitu untuk connect ke sesuatu yang lebih besar lagi.
Yeah, definitely I've come to learn especially the past few years kalau emotion plays a huge role in how we think and how we behave and how we act and how we speak, ya kan? My default go-to emotion is always calm. Jadi kayak everything needs to be done in a calm manner gitu kan. Masalah apapun, challenge apapun, situasi apapun, kondisi apapun, we need calm before we make decisions atau take action. Karena decision yang diambil atau kata-kata yang keluar dari mulut yang tidak dibarengi dengan calmness dulu in our emotional state, biasanya hasilnya nggak bagus. Either kayak kata-katanya nyakitin orang, ya kan, atau kayak decisionnya have ripple consequences yang kita nggak aware gitu kan, karena kita nggak pikirin jauh, karena kita nggak calm dan lain-lain. Of course it's always easier said than done ketika masalah datang gitu kan. There's a quote, right? Everybody's got a plan until you got punched in the face. Of course you say that you will be calm dan lain-lain, tapi ketika masalah itu benar-benar hadir di depan kita, urgent terjadi, not always easy to be calm. Tapi itu yang selalu gue coba sih, untuk kayak always kayak make sure that I am calm.
Kebayang sih, karena lo itu sekarang menjadi founder untuk 3 startups gitu kan, dan di salah satunya lo aktif menjadi CEO gitu. Kebayang betapa harus jugglingnya dengan berbagai hal, dan di situ kan kayak sisi emosi harus dijaga banget. How you regulate your emotion setiap hari untuk bisa jadi ya ngambil keputusan dengan tenang gitu, keep calm.
This might be a generic answer, but gue mencoba sangat mendekatkan diri dengan Tuhan sih.
Oke.
Belakangan ya terutama. Dan gue selalu found that ketika gue mendekatkan diri dengan Tuhan, gue merasa tenang. Karena ada rasa trust in that everything is gonna work out, everything is gonna be okay gitu kan. Dan biasanya the reduction in anxiety level atau stress level tuh langsung lumayan gitu. That's just kayak how I've been convincing myself that everything is gonna be okay, and then I have to remain calm. Then sometimes it just shows, karena sometimes things just work out. Maybe gue kayak just maybe put my hand on it, terus kayak push or nudge certain things to be this way and that way, and then kayak suddenly things work out gitu. I think a lot of people put effort into physical work, physical thinking, without recognizing that I think that there is something here greater yang at play, dan itu lebih fundamental sebenarnya gitu kan. Dan just connecting myself to that more fundamental layer of things itu helps me sih.
Oke, wow. Ini berkaitan juga gak sih sama your journey, your spiritual journey gitu, yang kita udah sempat bahas ya sebelumnya, yang itu terjadi dari kapan ya proses lo tuh mengalami awakening itu?
Ya, semua istilah ini juga waktu itu baru banget buat gue ya. Karena hidup gue waktu itu purely kayak logical, basically working day in day out gitu kan, building businesses, taking care of my family, etc. I have little time to think of anything else. Tapi memang di 2021 ada momen di mana ada personal tragedy lah gitulah ya. Ada personal tragedy, and that tragedy kayak triggered something maybe, triggered some sort of a reaction. I don't know whether it's biological or I don't know whether it's kayak psychological or mental, tapi kayak tiba-tiba it triggered something, dan I just knew that it wasn't normal gitu, because I started to perceive things that I didn't usually perceive, whether it's visual, whether it's auditory, ya kan. And being a very logical person, the first question that I ask myself is kayak is something wrong with me gitu kan? Is something happening? Turns out there's nothing wrong with me. It's ternyata what I've learned today adalah it's our very nature to be able to perceive these things. We're all born with it. It's only a matter of kayak whether you want to recognize that it's there, and whether you want to kayak learn, I guess, how to make the best of it. Gitu kan. Dan walaupun ya waktu itu sempat ngalamin kebingungan, sempat ngobrol sama beberapa orang, sampai akhirnya ketemu lah orang yang bisa bantuin. Ya.
Jadi waktu 2021 ya, lo kayak ngalamin sesuatu yang mungkin membuat lo jadi kayak super suffering, sampai akhirnya itu semacam nge-trigger lo jadi kayak punya satu kemampuan lebih untuk perceive through your senses.
That's how I interpret it. I don't know if that's true. That's my interpretation of how things happen.
Tapi terasanya nyata banget kan?
Oh nyata, there was no question. There was no question. Kayak ini real banget gitu loh, these perceptions.
Kayak lo mendengar sesuatu.
Ya mendengar, kemudian melihat juga gitu ya. Mostly mendengar dan melihat.
Ketika lo lagi dalam kondisi bangun gitu, waking state.
When I look at a mirror. Ya, kalau kaca yang reflection. Ya. Ya obviously waktu itu, whether it's real or not, I mean, what is the definition of real anyway, ya kan? Anything that we perceive as real today in this world, kayak this table, meja ini, kita bisa pegang, kita bisa knock-knock dan ada suaranya. Kenapa kita bilang ini real? Karena our perception, ya kan? Ada sense of touch, kemudian ada sense of auditory, ya kan? Kemudian ada visual, gitu. Dan my brain triggers a pain response ketika gue ininya agak kencang gitu kan. But all of that are perception juga, gitu kan. So what is real? Kalau even the most basic example of what is real, this table misalnya, itu kayak juga semuanya dipersif melalui indera, melalui sense, ya kan. Meaning that everything is perceived through sense.
Lo memahami ini tuh sebelum kejadian itu, atau kayak setelah itu lo baru kayak semakin paham gitu kalau semua it's all perception?
Setelah sih sebenarnya. I think maybe before kejadian itu gue punya kerangka berpikir yang sangat kaku.
Oh ya?
Apa yang real dan apa yang nggak real gitu ya. Oh yang real itu yang kita bisa lihat, pegang, cium dan rasakan, dengar gitu kan misalnya.
Jadi kayak quantum physics tuh nggak masuk tuh dulu ya waktu itu ya?
Well, I knew the developments in quantum physics, tapi bahkan waktu itu aja gue tetap ngeliat, maybe quantum particles itu something yang pada akhirnya nanti bisa dijelaskan kayak classical physics juga gitu. Tapi kan ada karakteristik quantum physics yang ternyata benar-benar nggak bisa dijelaskan dengan classical physics kan. Kayak how can be two particles be in different places at the same time gitu misalnya.
Iya.
How can when you manipulate one particle and then the other particle resonates as if it is also manipulated even though the two particles are kayak far apart gitu kan.
Ya, kayak foton dan elektron gitu
Yeah,
ya.
exactly. All these discoveries in quantum physics kan kayak makes us question. Berarti kayak ada semacam interconnectedness kan.
Benar.
Yang nggak terlihat gitu.
Entanglement ya.
Iya. And everything is made out of those particles and atoms, ya kan? Even us gitu. Berarti ada entanglement juga dong nih antara gua dan orang lain dan objects gitu kan. Kalau misalnya from the very basic quantum level aja berarti udah ada entanglement. Berarti kan everything that is made out of it juga ada entanglement ya berarti kan. Gitu. And we are made of those quantum particles gitu. I guess that yeah.
Itu your first awakening kah? Lo
I think so.
consider it as your first awakening?
I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that.
Karena kan ada yang bilang awakening itu terjadi berkali-kali gitu kan. Kayak gimana kita sebagai manusia tuh sadar kalau ya kita bukan cuma sekedar badan ini gitu.
Yeah, I would say it's the first that I remember. I don't know if kayak something else happened back in my younger days when I was an elementary school student atau kayak junior high or even when I was very little. I don't know kan. At least what I remember and what I recognize to be real adalah ya yang that awakening back in 2021.
It's a big year for you.
It's a big year. I start all of my companies 2021. I left my corporate job 2021.
Itu setelah kejadian itu kah?
Roughly happening at the same time actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah. While I was preparing to launch these different companies, kayak this happened gitu.
Ada kaitannya nggak sih dengan yang lo alamin?
Yeah, honestly
dari awakening itu dengan startup yang lo bangun ini? Karena ada 3 tuh ya.
Yeah, honestly when you ask that question, maybe it kayak makes me think juga ya. Sebelum ini gue nggak pernah mengkorelasikan itu dengan the awakening, tapi sekarang now that I think about it because you mentioned it, maybe the mind recognizes that I was leaving something behind and kayak starting something new, ya kan? Because for my over half of my life at that point, gue working, ya kan? Working as a professional, and now I will kayak by the time gue nggak working lagi, but then I will be launching my own companies. I don't know, maybe the mind recognizes that I'm starting a new journey, wrapping up the old one, so it sort of triggers a response in which I would need to be equipped with a different skill set, because this new journey will be a lot more challenging than the previous one. I don't know, maybe, gitu kan. But it definitely was happening at around the same time. Yeah.
Oke, dengan yang lo udah alamin itu, untuk pertanyaan, balik lagi ke pertanyaan who am I? Udah sampai di titik mana jawabannya? Bisa dijawab nggak?
I don't think I have the answer yet.
Oh wow, oke. Okay.
Belum.
Keep processing.
Iya, belum di titik di mana gue bisa share. Yeah. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to share it gitu. Tapi if we kayak just pull back that question to humanity overall, what is humanity gitu kan? Kenapa kita ada in this random planet, third planet from the sun, in a random corner in this galaxy, ya kan? Our position, our physical position of our star system in the galaxy is nothing special loh. Maksudnya, it's not close to the galactic core, ya kan? It's not close to the kayak the outer rim of the galaxy gitu. It's just kayak some random coordinate in the galaxy gitu kan. And then within that star system, and then there's us, there's the third planet. And then of the planets in our star system, only ours is populated, as far as we know, with the tools that we have right now to see, ya kan, to perceive. Who are we? What is this planet?
Ada yang bilang hidup kita di sini tuh it's a mistake.
Could be. I don't know. with every mistake there's a learning. So maybe by us existing here, there's gonna be learning someplace, ya kan? Which we don't know. Tapi, yeah, just think about it. It's a blue marble, a small blue marble in the grand scheme of things, floating in infinite blackness, void, ya kan? And there's a civilization that we built on that kayak small blue marble.
What is void for you?
I think the ability, not the ability, but the state of not perceiving would be how I describe void. It's definitely not blackness, because even blackness is still something, gitu kan. Jadi kalau orang bilang kayak, oh gue nggak ngeliat apa-apa, maksud lo nggak ngeliat apa-apa tuh apa? Ya gue cuma ngeliat hitam aja gitu. Hitam is still something, gitu. It's not void. Waktu itu gue pernah ngeliat ada interesting question. What do blind people see or perceive? Kalau lo dari lahir nggak punya kemampuan buat melihat, let's say nggak punya mata gitu ya, let's say because of whatever condition, tapi lo hidup gitu kan. Do you perceive anything? Ternyata jawabannya adalah mungkin dari kita akan nganggapnya mereka akan kayak ngelihat kalau kita tutup mata kayak gini. Jadi blackness gitu.
Yeah.
Apparently they don't. They don't even perceive visual or blackness.
Okay.
How are you able to describe that? Terus waktu itu gue ngobrol lah sama salah satu teman gue yang memang tidak bisa melihat dari
tunanetra.
Ya, dari lahir gitu. Terus dia nyuruh gue, coba bro lo tutup mata sebelah kanan. Oke. Terus dia bilang yang gue rasain di sebelah kanan ketika mata gue tutup itu adalah yang dia perceive. Tapi di dua-duanya. Jadi bukan blackness. Kalau gue tutup mata dua-duanya, gue see blackness.
Iya, benar.
Ya kan? Kayak black field, kayak whitish, purplish field gitu kan. Tapi bukan itu yang dia perceive.
Berarti benar-benar kayak nothingness gitu.
Void. Jadi kayak
That's void.
ya, yang dia suruh gue adalah coba bro lu tutup mata. Yang kanan doang tapi jangan dua-duanya.
Iya.
Yang kanan doang. Oh, nah gue nyadar nih ketika gue tutup mata gue yang sebelah kanan doang itu memang kayak there's not even blackness there.
Iya. Oh, that's new. Gue baru tahu loh.
Iya kan?
Gue pikir tuh blackness yang mereka lihat gitu. Kayak kalau kita merem.
No.
Oh, oke.
Kan, I mean blindness kan ada spektrumnya ya.
Yeah.
So kalau if you're only partially blind, lu sebenarnya masih bisa ngelihat, tapi kayak agak kabur atau gimana. Of course you will see maybe blackness gitu. Tapi I'm talking about people yang kayak memang nggak punya the organ to perceive visual. Memang the eyes don't work, or maybe the eyes are simply not there gitu. Jadi nggak punya the organ untuk perceive light or visual at all. So they don't even perceive blackness. What they have is void.
Oke. Ya ini satu pengetahuan baru juga sih buat gue ya.
Yeah, and then you take that, you extrapolate that into other things. Yeah, it's a state of non-perceiving buat gue.
Oke. Ini balik lagi nih ke manusia sebagai emotional being gitu ya. Dan dari tadi lo bilang kayak lo tuh selalu ngontrol your calmness gitu kan. Menurut lo itu gak sih yang bikin lo jadi punya kesempatan mengalami that awakening gitu? Karena lo terbiasa dengan state calmness sehingga emosi itu tidak menghambat lo lagi untuk membuat lo perceive berbagai hal itu.
Could be.
Kan emotional blockage tuh menurut gue itu penghambat terbesar manusia sih, sehingga mereka tidak bisa flowing gitu untuk bisa menjadi portal ya dari the higher consciousness.
It could be. I have no decisive answer on that, but tapi kayaknya memang, yeah, now that I think about it, gue cenderung calm even in dire situations.
Itu lo kok bisa sih? Maksudnya apakah emang keturunannya kayak gitu atau?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Maybe it's in me, or maybe it's conditioning. I don't know. Tapi memang I think the year before 2020 itu ada not a tragedy tapi kayak ada suatu masalah lah ya yang kayak very urgent, very emergency in my family and everyone was panicking kayak not knowing what to do, not knowing what to say gitu. Tapi ternyata waktu itu I was able to kayak calmly offer a solution yang kayak langsung jalan gitu, terus langsung semua orang rallied behind that solution, terus kayak langsung beres masalahnya dalam 2 minggu gitu.
Wow.
Now
It's
that
a
I think
gift.
about it, maybe gitu.
It's a gift.
Tapi ya kalau ditanya apakah gue sebenarnya ada panik-paniknya juga, takut-takutnya juga ya ada pasti. Come on, kita kan manusia kan.
Iya, masih
Dia
manusia lo ya.
tetap in the back of my mind ya gue masih kayak ini beres gak ya? Ini bakalan gimana nih gitu? Ini bakalan kayak gimana gitu?
Oke.
Tapi ya that level of calmness ternyata bisa beresin masalahnya.
Iya, karena yang gue pelajarin juga yang blocking manusia untuk bisa mencapai their highest potential itu karena ada blockage tadi dari emosinya dan banyak yang beraksi itu dari trauma-traumanya gitu. Nah, lo sendiri tuh ada gak sih kayak trauma-trauma yang lo healed gitu on your journey in this lifetime?
Ada. I'm not sure if I can talk much about it gitu kan.
Is it a childhood trauma?
No, not necessarily. I actually had an amazing childhood actually. Kayak maybe sometimes kalau kayak di film-film people yang experience this kind of stuff itu kayak wah kayak severe trauma in their early years atau kayak something gitu kan. No, actually I live a very normal life, very average life.
Karena ada kadang hal kecil yang kita pikir itu normal gitu ya. Tapi ternyata ketika ada triggernya baru ketahuan gitu. Oh, kok ini rasa kayaknya nggak enak banget nih, kayak harus diproses nih.
Yeah.
Dan ternyata itu udah bawaan, udah trap emotion dari zaman kecil.
I know
gitu.
what you mean, and I know people that have those. Maybe I have those as well. Maybe gue belum ketemu malah kan, belum tahu titiknya. Mungkin belum pernah ketemu triggernya tuh, yang bikin gue langsung kayak think back atau look back mana trauma yang selama ini tersembunyi yang belum solve gitu kan. Tapi so far selama ini gue belum mengalami itu dan I cannot recall any kayak traumatic moment or incident in my early days gitu kan yang kayak bisa trigger something like that. But to your point, it could also be the mind's response to hide those things again, to allow me to survive. Tapi no, I was an average child from an average family living in an average life. Had a loving parents gitu kan, and kayak well taken care of, nggak kekurangan segala sesuatu apapun gitu. So kayak belum ketemu tuh di mana ya kira-kira ya kalau misalnya ada trauma gitu.
Tapi kayak ada emotional wound itu lo juga ngalamin gak sih?
Oh pasti kalau itu mah. Especially as we grow into an adult ya, and then we build relationships, and then we have expectations, we get disappointments.
Karena kan kayak trauma itu too fast, too intense kan. Jadi kayak ketika kita ngalamin itu tuh rasanya kayak terlalu intens dan terlalu cepat. Jadi kita nggak sempat ngeproses itu.
Maybe, yeah. Bisa jadi. I try not to take things personally. That's one, ya kan. Kedua, what I do adalah I always assume good intention with people. I think I mentioned this in my previous podcast as well. I think most people are actually good. Okay lah, yeah, some people kayak genuinely jahat gitu ya, evil gitu. Udah nggak bisa ditolong lagi gitu. Tapi I think for the vast majority of humans, we're actually normal good people, you know, just trying to live our lives. Jadi kayak I always assume good intention when kayak people maybe do things or kayak talk about things and kayak maybe yang orang lain perceive sebagai mistake gitu ya atau slight, ya gue akan tetap initially gue akan always assume good intention gitu. Dan I try not to have kayak expectations for outcomes. Focusing on the effort and then concentrating on things you can control, yang bisa dikontrol, buttonsnya and triggersnya. bikin gue nggak terlalu worry tentang the outcome sih.
Kayaknya lo udah tahu ya what to do di hidup ini gitu kayak.
Not exactly, but
Karena sekarang tuh banyak orang yang udah mulai ngelakuin perjalanan healing gitu. Ketika mereka tahu kalau wah ternyata manusia sebagai emotional being tuh sangat kompleks ya gitu. Kita banyak yang kehambat untuk ngelakuin sesuatu karena ada yang trap nih dan bahkan bisa jadi psikosomatis gitu. Jadi nyebabin penyakit fisik gitu. Sehingga apalagi pas pandemi kan ketika orang kayak harus berhadapan dengan diri mereka sendiri gitu kan, nggak ketemu orang lain dan ternyata oh my god kok rasanya nggak nyaman nih. Kalau arti healing buat lo apa sih, Waf?
that's a deep question. When people say healing, usually they refer to wounds, ya kan, luka. Luka always leave a scar. Most wounds leave a scar. Even those that don't leave scars, biologically, usually there's a fundamental change in how the layer of cells work beneath that wound gitu misalnya. So something always changes ketika ada wound, gitu kan. Does healing mean that those changes are reverted? I don't think so, not necessarily. So kalau ketika gue bicara healing, bukan soal balik ke state sebelumnya, tapi soal moving on. And I think sometimes people mistake those two. Ketika the word healing comes to their mind, yang mereka pikirin adalah how can I be the way I was before? Ya kan? Well,
balik
in
ke
reality,
normal lagi, balik ke semula
Iya.
lagi gitu ya.
Dan dalam bagian dari itu untuk kembali ke normal dan kembali ke sebelumnya lagi, sometimes they make the same mistake gitu kan. Ya kan? With the same persons or people yang kayak were part of that wound gitu kan, the same activities or the same place or same time. Sometimes they got trapped in the cycle kan. While healing to me is actually about moving on.
Oke.
Yeah.
Jadi kayak semacam transformational journey juga dari
Yeah. It doesn't always have to be
diri gitu ya.
always transformational. Sometimes you get trapped in these big words, you know, dan kayak jadi agak lazy untuk do the small changes that are necessary in our lives. Karena kita ngerasanya itu nggak penting atau nggak meaningful. Actually, I disagree. You know the butterfly effect, right? I think even very small changes we make in our lives itu bisa kayak impactnya unexpected.
Oke.
Gitu.
Lo sendiri melakukan perjalanan healing itu gak sih?
I do.
Dan dari kapan tuh lo mulai menyadari oke, ini nih yang tergolong perjalanan healing gue nih. Startnya dari sini gitu.
Kira-kira setahun lah setelah my awakening began.
Oke. Sekitar 2022 tuh ya.
2022. Gue ketemu mentor lah ya. Mentor yang recognize what was happening with me.
Itu beruntung banget sih.
Oh ya.
Gak kebayang ya kalau sendirian
Yes.
perceiving itu semua dan nentuin arahnya kemana nih.
Ya.
Oke.
Mas, I owe you my life if you're watching this.
Halo Mas.
But you know who you are. Tapi ya, mentor gue ini bantuin gue dari segala aspek banyak banget. He gave me a lot of guidance. He gave me a lot of kayak helping hand. Dan what he initially did was adalah untuk make sure gue ngerti nih what was happening with me di 2021 itu. Jadi kita ngobrol kayak gini tuh bisa berjam-jam. Gue boleh tanya apapun, dia akan jawab. Dia kasih penjelasan. Kejadian tuh sebenarnya kayak gini mas, kayak gini. Dia kasih analogi dan lain-lain segala macam. We had a kayak 3-4 hour conversation tuh before kayak before he started kayak working on me lah gitu istilahnya ya. Tapi it was an incredible realization that this is definitely not it gitu. This is not. There are other things greater at play here yang we humans typically don't encounter day to day gitu. That was my first realization waktu ketika mulai healing journey itu. Because you can actually feel the energy flowing. gue kan lumayan skeptik sebenarnya initially before ini kan. Jadi kita sering tuh made fun of kayak hippies gitu misalnya. Ketika hippies bilang kayak oh energy, the vibes gitu kan dan lain-lain, kita ketawa tuh, gue pasti dulu tuh denger kayak gitu tuh. Aneh orang hippie nih. Ini kebanyakan ini nih.
Kebanyakan halu
Kebanyakan
nih
halu
gitu,
nih,
ya.
energy, vibe apa sih gitu. Because you don't biologically perceive it. Gitu kan. But as I started my healing journey, assisted by mentor, and now I'm also helping people together with him gitu kan, healing people. You physically feel the energy. Biologically, the body reacts to the energy gitu. Bukan kayak energi yang ngawang-ngawang gitu, tapi gue actually ngerasain dalam bentuk kayak aliran, kayak semacam aliran air atau angin, is how I would describe it, like wind or water flowing, and sometimes it is in the form of electricity, kayak static electricity, sometimes heat, sometimes cold juga gitu. When you biologically perceive this ambiguous thing that people call energy, ya di situ kayak ada semacam realization sih dan validation that this was something real, that it was undeniable. Ya.
Mungkin dari dulu sebenarnya juga udah terjadi reaksi itu di badan tapi nggak disadarin aja.
Either nggak
Mungkin nggak sih?
disadari atau because you don't control it, so you don't recognize it. Kayak misalnya lo ngerasain nih, tapi kan bukan lo yang kontrol, ya kan? Jadi lo akan bilang itu ini kali AC, atau kalau lo ngerasain listrik, itu kali tadi tuh eskalator, gue megang eskalator, because you don't control it, ya kan? So you always associate the sensation with some external factor yang bisa help your monkey brain basically justify the basic logic behind it gitu. Tapi when you actually control it, meaning that kayak misalnya, okay, gue mau move the energy from my right hand to my left hand, and then you actually feel that there is kayak some sort of static electricity yang jumps from your right hand to your left hand, ya kan? That's not deniable. It's something that you can actually feel and real to you at least, and to other people juga yang ngerasain gitu kan. That was the pivotal moment for me sih. Maybe monkey brain gue masih lebih gede daripada my spiritual brain gitu kan. Jadinya gue butuh kayak physical validation gitu. And maybe my mentor realized that as well gitu. Jadi ya, so the first thing he did adalah was to kayak channel his energy to me, dan gue langsung ngerasain. And it was not a sensation I've ever kayak experienced in my life before gitu kan. Sort of felt like entanglement actually gitu. Ya.
Dan menyadari itu gitu, menurut lo kesempatan kita menjadi seorang manusia tuh gimana sih artinya buat lo sekarang setelah menyadari oh my god, ternyata interconnectedness is real gitu. Ternyata kita itu bisa ya multidimensionally ngerasain atau sensing berbagai hal, dari yang bener-bener physical, yang non fisik juga kita sebenarnya bisa tuh untuk ngerasain sensasinya juga gitu through this physical body. Ketika menyadari itu, kesempatan menjadi manusia tuh pendapat lo gimana?
Kesempatan menjadi manusia itu gimana?
Ya kayak kita dikasih kesempatan nih untuk bisa experiencing ini gitu.
Kalau gue sih ngebacanya, I think pertama pasti the human experience ini different from something. We don't know what this something is, right? People call it afterlife, heaven, hell, nirvana or whatever gitu. Something that comes after, or kayak somewhere where we were before we were born. Ya kan? Experience di sana pasti beda sama experience di sini, gitu kan. What do we experience here yang mungkin beda dengan di sana? I think it's duality. Here we experience duality. We always feel hot, cold, ya kan? Happy, sad, black and white. Almost everything in this our physical universe itu kayak bisa di associated with duality. baik buruk, ya kan, tinggi rendah, ya kan, panjang pendek. Everything is in duality for some reason. Gitu.
Iya.
Hidup mati, gitu kan, laki-laki perempuan, gitu. So maybe I think that points to something. Maybe in that other state of existence, we don't experience duality. Maybe we experience everything. Maybe there's no more duality. There's no more kayak up, down, left, right, gitu kan, black and white, high, low, good and evil. Everything is just existing, gitu. Maybe a state of kayak perfectness or roundness or kayak wholeness or whatever. I don't know, ya kan. But here we experience for some reason duality. Ya kan?
Duality itu kayak apa ya, satu kayak pengalaman berharga yang mungkin nggak didapetin dari
Maybe. I mean, what do we
realm
do?
lain.
What do I do in my free time? I play video games. Why? Because in video games, I experience things I cannot experience here in my real life. Gitu kan. Kalau gue main game misalnya Dune Awakening gitu, I ride my sand bike across the Dune Desert, dikejar sama giant worm Shai Hulud gitu kan. That's not an experience that I can have in this life, ya kan. But I keep coming back to that game gitu misalnya. Why? Because I want to experience kayak how it feels to be like Paul Atreides misalnya di Arrakis dan lain-lain. So I think the very nature of us for some reason is experience things that we don't normally get to experience. Whether it brings us excitement or whether it brings us thrill or learning or sometimes just kayak to have fun gitu kan. Maybe this is it as well. I don't know. Maybe this human experience is not so deep, you know. It's just fun. Kayak kalau gue pikirin ya maksudnya, maybe this is just a video game. Maybe this is just a video game where we experience things we don't get to experience outside of this state. Maybe we learn something. Maybe we have some excitement, ya kan? Maybe we have a lot of fun juga gitu kan di sini that we don't normally get to experience.
Jadi hidup ini tuh juga kayak simulation game. Pendapat lo gimana?
I think so. I think the word we used to describe always changes ya. Thousands of years ago kita describe sebagai kayak ada misalnya lapisan-lapisan kehidupan atau ada underworld gitu kan. Kalau nanti kita meninggal kita ke underworld gitu, ada Hades dan lain-lain. This was kayak thousands of years ago. The vocabulary evolves gitu, ya kan. Now we are in the technological era. We describe it as video games. Oh yeah, this is a video game. This is a simulation, gitu. But I think they are actually referring to the exact same thing, gitu kan. The Greek philosopher in year 2000 BC dan Elon Musk talking about how kayak he is practically convinced that this life is a video game or simulation. They use different words, but I think they're referring to the exact same thing. It's basically a state yang a division of another state, and in this state we experience something yang we don't normally get to experience in that previous state. And that state is where we will go when we die, and where were we before we were born, gitu kan. So,
Just enjoy it.
Yeah. What does it mean to become a human? Man, just play the game.
Just play the game.
just enjoy and have fun.
Bahkan balik lagi ke perjalanan healing itu juga menurut gue bagian dari perjalanan kita menyadari gitu ya. Who am I?
Yeah.
Perjalanan masuk ke dalam batin gitu kan. Sesuatu yang gak terlihat secara fisik aja. Dan juga itu mungkin perjalanan untuk kita menikmati the duality itu sendiri. Karena ketika healing journey gitu, kalau kaitannya sama emotion, kita kan terkondisikan untuk kayak hidup itu harus bahagia gitu, ya kan? Kita yang dinikmati itu ya yang menyenangkan aja gitu. Tapi kayak kesedihan itu kadang kita reject, kadang kita suppress gitu. Nggak enak nih, kayak ada rasa nggak nyaman dikit, anxious. Kita mungkin kadang ngelariinnya ke makan gitu, atau drugs mungkin, atau addiction yang lainnya lah gitu. Cuma ketika kita udah mulai membuka diri, udah mulai ready untuk healing gitu, menerima, akhirnya jadi terbiasa gitu. Oh ada rasa nggak enak, emang kayak gini kok. Namanya juga duality kan.
Ya,
Nggak mungkin yang rasa si joyful atau bahagia aja gitu. Tapi yang sedih ini juga ini bagian dari experience loh.
that's the essence of it, ya kan?
Mhm.
I think it speaks to our nature ya. Kenapa kita cenderung pengen happy? Kenapa kita pengen kenyang? Kenapa kita pengen nggak ada masalah gitu misalkan? Kenapa kita pengen kaya? Kenapa kita pengen recognize dan lain-lain? So it speaks to our nature to being kayak one state driven. Jadi kayak ada satu ideal state yang sebenarnya kita humanity collectively itu suka gitu. Ya kan? Tapi only maybe in this world where we experience the state where we don't experience those things gitu kan. Duality itu tadi bener. Jadi I don't think it's realistic in this world to expect kayak kita akan selalu nggak pernah ada masalah, semua akan selalu happy terus, semua akan lancar terus. Semua orang suka sama kita, nggak ada yang nggak suka sama kita gitu kan. Nggak pernah ada financial problem, nggak pernah ada ini problem. Okay, maybe some people are lucky enough, kelihatannya di outside they don't have all of those problems, tapi trust me, behind the scene, deep inside pasti ada something else yang kayak make them experience that duality gitu. We just don't know it gitu kan. We just judge them to be living perfect lives, even though we don't know sebenarnya what's behind the scene, what kind of duality that they experiencing gitu. And sometimes we compare ourselves kan jadinya. Oh kok dia kayak their lives are so good compared to mine. I think if duality is a fundamental experience on this planet, maybe in this universe, you gotta believe that there's something else going on there yang kayak juga make them experience that part of duality. It's just that people's experiences are different gitu. So yeah, we cannot always expect that things will always kayak go our way because that's the whole point. Maybe things will always go our way in heaven or in paradise, in nirvana, in our after state, afterlife, whatever it is you want to call it, right? But now we have what 70, 80 years here again, which is also a mercy karena coba kalau jatah hidup kita per orang tuh di sini 10.000 tahun gitu. How much duality, how much suffering you want to experience kan?
Yeah.
I think somehow we have kayak 70, 80 years itu kayak sweet spot gitu. Limited enough untuk kayak kita appreciate the time that we have here, tapi not so rush, you know.
Yeah.
That we feel like we have to kayak rush everything. So that perfect sweet spot.
Dengan menyadari ini, lo sendiri masih suka ngalamin kesulitan gak sih untuk menghadapi duality itu? Termasuk di rasa gitu ya, kayak ada rasa oh enak nih, nyaman gitu. Ada yang aduh gak nyaman nih. Dan gimana caranya untuk ngejaga supaya tetap di tengah gitu?
I don't think you always need to remain in the middle. Kayaknya nggak harus selalu di tengah juga sih. I just embrace it. Kalau lagi sedih ya sedih, kalau lagi happy ya happy, ya kan? I think typically what people tend to do jadinya kalau misalnya you always try to stay in the middle atau kayak try to regulate it adalah kalau lagi happy juga nggak terlalu happy gitu kan. Kayak karena you're always expecting something will go wrong nih at some point gitu. Because karena wah ini kok kayaknya things go so well nih, tapi gue nggak happy nih karena gue anxious kayaknya bakal ada something else yang happens yang bikin gue
ada loh
lagi
orang
gitu.
kayak gitu loh.
Ada
loh.
Because the mind probably tries to regulate that duality kan, karena dia pengen things to steady state, nggak mau ada spike baik yang upper atau lower gitu kan. Jadi even ketika ada jump in the state of happiness, dia akan regulate itu gitu. Supaya apa? Supaya nanti ketika ada drop in happiness karena something comes along, dia juga bisa ngeregulate itu gitu kan. Jadi kayak dibikin less volatile gitu kan. State of mindnya. I don't do that. So I don't try to regulate my state of mind gitu. I just embrace whatever emotions, what I'm feeling gitu.
Tapi kan itu harus punya mental yang kuat banget sih. Iya gak sih?
I think
karena kalau
everyone can
sampai
do it.
ke bawah yang nggak enaknya itu, kadang itu membuat kita jadi spiraling down terus gitu rasanya. Jadi mungkin sampai di state depresi gitu.
Ya, ada yang bisa seperti itu. I'm not saying that you kayak never try to manage it gitu kan. And this is also true for the state of happiness-nya gitu kan. Bukan hanya soal sadness. Ketika lo terlalu happy juga nggak bagus loh.
Iya, iya, iya.
You can also do things and say things that are not necessarily good gitu. When things go too well, dan kayak you get too excited. Even worse, you get basically jadi sombong atau jadi kayak jumawa lah gitu istilahnya kan, kalau kita nyebutnya. That's also not good. But the other side also not good kan, kalau kayak spiraling into depression, feeling like everything is always will go wrong, feeling worthless, feeling valueless gitu kan, segala macam. That's also not good. I think each person needs to have a lower and upper limit lah maybe. How they try to manage this state. Yeah, maybe you can have a lower limit gitu kan, and you have a higher upper limit gitu for things how you for the things that you want to feel. Tapi kan these are very these are very fluid, you know, because the mind is not a physical thing. Bukan kayak gelas yang bisa gue, kalau gue nggak suka gagang ini, gagangnya gue patahin terus gue tempel gagang lain, atau mic ini gue nggak suka suaranya, gue buang terus gue beli mic baru gitu kan. It's not an object. It's very fluid, and sometimes we also have little control over it gitu kan. Do you feel like you always have control over yourself, over your mind? Maybe not kan?
Iya, nggak selalu.
Nggak selalu. So it's a trickier thing. But I don't want to make this sound like this is something that you have to practice atau kayak get good at gitu. Come on, we have enough burden in our lives kayak gitu. Let's not add more to it gitu kan. Kita punya tanggung jawab, kerjaan, daily responsibilities with children, family, aging parents to take care of, etc. Why add to your suffering? Ya kan? So I don't want to kayak make this sound like it's something that you have to get good at atau kayak learn about gitu. Because I don't think it's something that you need to be good at. It's not something that you need to learn about. It's something yang comes with you kok when you enter this state of humanness gitu kan.
Just enjoy the experience aja, just enjoy the ride gitu ya.
Yeah, just enjoy the experience. Trust that everything is gonna be okay. Assume good intention, ya kan. Recognize that duality is part of this experience. And nanti in your next state you can talk about how you hate duality and you don't want to come back here again. But it seems that a lot of people actually end up coming back. Ya kan?
Karena seru ya.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, how do you describe consciousness?
It's one of the fundamental questions kan. There are two schools of thought again. One is that the brain creates consciousness. And then the other is actually consciousness creates everything, including the brain. Gitu. Every single particle and even the entire structure of space-time in the galaxy is created by consciousness. And we're just perceiving it. Gitu. The other side believes that consciousness is kayak biological experience generated by the brain. Okay. I don't believe that. I believe consciousness is fundamental.
Okay.
It is almost kayak, it's almost equivalent to the word God maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Balik lagi nih ke peran lo sebagai seorang entrepreneur gitu ya. Dengan pengalaman lo awakening tadi dari 2021, terus healing journey lo sampai sekarang gitu. Dengan pemahaman-pemahaman yang lebih dalam lagi tentang humanity dan peran kita di dunia ini gitu, hidup ini. Menurut lo tuh apa yang udah lo lakukan tuh align gak sih? Kayak semuanya, berbagai peran di hidup lo.
Align dengan apa?
Lo sebagai entrepreneur. Lo sebagai seorang bapak sekarang, dan lo juga sebagai seorang leader gitu, mungkin role model juga untuk banyak anak muda gitu.
I mean, some things align, some things don't. For example, as an entrepreneur, I would have more time for my family again, and having a baby daughter that helps a lot again, having more time. But on the other hand, some people would say family needs stability, certainty. There is nothing stable or certain about being an entrepreneur. Again, very far from it. Very far from it. So yeah, I mean, some things align, some things don't align, but I'm also not trying to make everything perfectly aligned. I embrace the beautiful mess, the
Okay.
beautiful chaos. Again, it's okay for me to not everything to be in perfect order. Yeah, it's okay because otherwise I'll go crazy trying to make everything in perfect order. But I would say overall, I'm quite well aligned in the sense that I can still do my companies. I have also other roles again in nonprofit, in another company as well, and in some advisory roles. So I can contribute back to society. I create jobs through my companies. With multiple companies, meaning multiple opportunities to create jobs. And I still manage somehow to raise a family. And I still have time for my parents gitu kan, my siblings. I still have time for myself. I try to kayak also have time for myself. I think what's lacking adalah sebenarnya it's harder now to kayak have real friends.
Oke.
Ya kayak friends in the classical sense ya. My friends adalah now the people that I play games with gitu kan at night gitu. And I speak to them on Discord, on voice chat gitu. Tapi kayak having someone in the same city as yours that you go meet, ya kan, to hang out gitu. I almost never experienced that now.
Tapi kayak itu dialamin sama
Banyak
lumayan
orang.
banyak orang sih ya, di
Iya.
umuran kita yang
Iya.
udah berkeluarga,
Yeah,
produktif dengan jalanan yang macet.
Yeah, exactly.
Jadi ketemu langsung tuh.
jadi cycle-nya selalu work or business, and then family, and then yourself, ya kan, muter lagi gitu.
Ini kan kayaknya dengan menjadi entrepreneur apalagi ada 3 startups yang diurus gitu, dan lo masih ngerasa punya banyak waktu free time lah gitu. Kita ini kan setiap hari dihadapkan dengan ngambil keputusan kan, pilihan, terus mau yang mana nih, ke arah yang mana nih. Nah, gimana cara lo nentuin pilihan dengan lebih clear gitu, dengan lebih smooth setiap harinya?
I read the script.
Say it again.
I read the script.
Gimana tuh kalau dijelasin? Apa kalau udah bisa ngelihat kayak oke, kalau gue pilih yang ini akan 3 langkah ke depan ini akan kayak gimana gitu?
Bisa.
Karena banyak orang yang ngalamin kedilemaan itu gitu. Dari berbagai pilihan yang ada, apalagi era digital gitu kan. Informasi banyak banget yang masuk gitu. Terus gue mesti ke arah yang mana nih gitu. Apalagi di umur yang ya masih bisa dibilang muda, tapi juga udah gak terlalu muda gitu.
I think the best way to describe it will be to trust your intuition. Informasi bisa salah, orang lain bisa bohong, bacaan bisa ngaco, ya kan? Video, audio bisa palsu, but your intuition never lies, and I think you should always trust it.
Gimana cara ngasah intuisi versi lo? Karena
Keep using it.
oke.
Yeah.
Karena ada momen kalau dari gue pribadi gitu ya, ada momen dimana gue tuh gampang aja gitu untuk milih yang mana nih yang terbaik untuk gue gitu. Tapi ada momen juga ketika lagi kayak lowest point gitu, terus mau bangkit lagi tuh kayak susah nih gue untuk percaya lagi ke diri gue sendiri untuk nentuin pilihan, sampai akhirnya nanya orang, ya kan. Banyak orang juga gitu kan dalam journey healingnya juga. Nanya sana nanya sini gitu, gue mendingan yang mana ya, gue menurut lo gimana ya gitu. Kalau udah itu kayak ngasih, kalau misalnya udah dapet petunjuk dari orang lain dan ternyata ending yang nggak sesuai ekspektasi, itu akhirnya jadi ngasih ruang untuk dia nyalahin orang lain.
Yep.
Termasuk anak ke orang tua gitu kan. Kadang ada jebakan Batman-nya kayak gitu tuh. menurut lo gimana sih cara kita untuk ngasah intuisi ya? Atau mungkin lo juga mau describe intuisi itu apa sih menurut lo?
Kalau kita connect ke the state of non-duality, di sini kan kita duality, meaning that there's another state, and this is potentially the state where we were before we were born, and where we'll go after we die. Ya kan? In that state, kayaknya kita bisa mengakses semua informasi yang kita mau gitu, very easily, gitu. And the mind remembers it. Jadi ketika kita enter the state of duality di sini, masih ada kayak traces of that non-duality state. So I would say intuition is the mind having recollections, remembrance of things that we already know sebenarnya. Kita nggak consciously know nih. Kalau misalnya siang ini gue mau makan apa ya gitu, enaknya gitu kan. Of course we don't consciously know that we will eat fried rice gitu misalnya. Tapi the mind sebenarnya remembers. Because that state, whatever it is, some people call it ada apa namanya akashic records gitu kan. Some religions describe it as the book of life. Islam I think Lawful Mahfuz, ya kan. Different religions, different faiths have different ways to describe this kayak state of knowing everything, state of kayak non-duality yang every possible information is there gitu, in the past, in the present, and in the future. I think that's our natural state actually, untuk having access to that.
Okay.
So here we are not in our natural state nih, gitu. This meat suit, ya kan? Ini kan kayak kostum gitu sebenarnya kan, this body gitu. This is not our natural state. So sometimes the mind remembers what our natural state is. And sometimes the mind will kayak nudge you to certain directions yang it knows good for you gitu. Because it has seen the records. It has seen the book. Ya kan?
Okay.
It is reading the script in real time as you go through your life. That's how I would describe intuition. You know how some people kayak bisa dapat firasat kayak, kayaknya gue gak mau keluar deh hari ini gitu. Dan ternyata bener, hari itu kayak entah macet banget atau banjir atau apa gitu. But they struggle to describe the feeling. They struggle to describe kenapa ya tadi pagi gue kayak nggak pengen aja gitu. Or you know how kayak in dan ini real ya, bukan hanya di film, kayak when people that are very closely connected with each other, something happens to one of them, the other itu kayak feel something. Gitu.
Yeah.
If something really bad happens to one person, the other person yang kayak very very closely connected to this person tuh kayak would feel something. Biasanya ibu anak, ya kan, kayak that parental bond. That's I think intuition, the mind telling you what it already knows, but your brain doesn't know. So your brain is receiving that information from that higher state.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether you choose to accept it, it's up to you. But typically, I always do.
Kalau misalnya kita mau akses ke non-duality tadi gitu ya, yang lo bilang, apakah dengan be present itu caranya, atau lo ada kata-kata lain gitu untuk describe itu supaya bisa akses ke situ?
Nah, what I learned adalah quite early on when I first started my awakening journey itu adalah ini balik ke poin, this body is not natural to our default state gitu ya. It has to be kayak made as closely to the natural state dulu as possible. One of the first thing I did when I first start my awakening journey itu adalah puasa rutin, and basically cut back on kayak garam, gula, terus kayak daging merah. Basically everything the doctors say it's bad for the body gitu ya. What I learned adalah ternyata there's this thing called the gut brain that we have di sini. Itu yang dia jadi kotor ketika kita consume all of these things yang not natural. to the human body. Even our human body aja not natural to our default spiritual state, ya kan? And then you add more things into the body yang nggak natural gitu. So it dampens the gut brain, and when the gut brain is damp, it dampens the mind, and it blocks the connection with the records gitu. So actually, what my mentor told me adalah one of the first thing that I had to do was to clean up gitu, and I start eating clean, start fasting regularly, start to try to have better sleep as well. Bukan hanya longer sleep tapi higher quality sleep gitu kan. It matters a lot karena as the body cleans itself, the connection to the mind is stronger.
Wow, ini menarik nih. Ini tips untuk mengasah intuisi.
Yes, so you are what you eat itu benar sih.
Okay.
But maybe not in the way people understand it previously gitu ya. Literally you are what you eat adalah because depending on what you eat, you will either be very far or very close to your natural state of being. And the closer you are to your natural state of being, the stronger the connection is between the brain and the mind, and the more you can use your intuition, and the more you will probably hopefully be able to make good decisions.
Wow. Ini kayak udah banyak banget yang kita bahas hari ini.
Lumayan.
Tapi seru banget Wafa untuk kayak ngedengerin your journey, apalagi your awakening tadi. Dan mungkin kalau lo boleh share juga sesuatu yang pernah lo post di Instagram yang judulnya The Journey Begins, yang nanti gue tampilin juga ya di sini boleh ya?
Boleh.
Itu boleh diceritain nggak that experience gitu? Apakah itu dalam mimpi gitu, kayak lo ketika lo lagi tidur atau ketika lo lagi apa ngalaminnya? Dengan judul The Journey Begins.
Yeah, I think mirip ya. A lot of people juga experience hal yang sama dari zaman dulu sampai sekarang, and they use different terms. I think di Jawa they call it rogo sukmo or something like that, and then some people call it astral traveling or astral journey, ya kan? The CIA calls it remote viewing. Yeah. And they've done experiments on remote viewing. I think Europeans, ancient Greece, ancient Romans, they used to call it kayak sightseeing. So they have what they used to call as oracles, seers, people that can basically see. The point is, if you look at history, every civilization at every point in time would encounter these experiences. They just have different names for them. Again. So it is something that actually anyone can do. We're born with it. Again, the difference is whether you remember and whether you are in control. When you're not in control and you only vaguely remember it, you call it a dream. But I think the key adalah to be able to remain in control during that experience, and to be able to remember it, again, once that state is over. That's the fundamental difference sebenarnya.
Okay. Dan yang lo alamin ini ketika lo lagi tidur kah?
Enggak, lagi waking.
Okay.
Because that's the point. When you're in control, then you can do it whenever you want. Wherever you want, however you want it. Kenapa some people experience it during sleep? Karena I think what happens adalah during sleep was when the mind and body connection is the most loose, paling longgar. So the mind is freed. When the mind is freed, it has deeper connection to the soul, so it is able to do more things.
Okay.
Nah, in the waking state, mind sama body tuh rapat banget tuh, kayak di lem gitu kan. So it's not easy to be able to have these experiences in your waking state, but with enough practice actually and with some discipline you can actually do it.
Okay. Ini gue baca sebagian boleh ya?
Boleh.
Ada beberapa paragraf kan. Di sini lo bilang, the next thing I knew I was moving at extreme speed through a tunnel made of brilliant lights in all kinds of geometric shapes and patterns, rectangles, triangles, circles, pentagons, and hexagons, but also shapes that I don't have the words for. I saw all kinds of colors, blue, red, green, purple, yellow, but also colors that I don't have the words for. Ini 2021 ya?
Itu 2022.
Oh 2022,
Yeah,
oke.
2022.
Dan kalau dari yang lo lihat ini gitu, dari yang lo alamin ini, ada kayak apa ya, penjabaran yang lebih clear nggak sih sekarang nih setelah berapa tahun tuh? 3 tahun ya?
Oh ya.
Dari shapes atau geometric yang lo lihat itu?
Not specifically about the geometrics and shapes, but definitely some things in there. If you continue that series on my Instagram, itu ada at some point where in that experience I encounter a little girl, basically. She was in this kayak all white room. She said nothing. She just maybe she was about 4 or 5 years old in that experience. She said nothing. She just stared at me kayak gitu. Cuma ngeliatin aja gitu kayak gini. I asked her questions. Didn't know. She didn't know how to answer, and then suddenly she left gitu. After the experience kayak sempat bertanya-tanya ini apa ya gitu, why the girl was there segala macam, until I realized I think it's actually my daughter that was born 2 months ago. And I do believe that. I believe that if you believe in quantum physics and you believe in quantum entanglement, then souls that have connection must be entangled in some way. Again, even before they were born, gitu. There's that, which is magical. Dan there's a bunch of other things as well yang juga udah mulai kelihatan manifestasinya dalam hidup gue seperti apa gitu. I was shown that things will happen a certain way, and they did happen in a certain way, gitu.
Dan lo mengalaminya dengan tetap stay calm gitu. Kadang kan orang kayak experiencing something magical, ada euforianya gitu.
Awal-awal everything was exciting. Awal-awal kayak every experience, every sensation, everything that I perceive was kayak candy. Kan? Felt like Christmas every morning gitu. Every time something new ada yang gue experience atau gue lihat gitu. Tapi I'm getting used to it now.
Okay.
So I'm pretty calm, and I know that for the most part things will happen the way that I've seen it. Maybe some minor adjustments here and there, but when things get confusing, I can always kayak check back the script and make decisions in a certain way. I guess there are 2 ways to live, right? Especially after an experience like this. You either try to kayak follow the script to the letter, meaning that you always kayak try to use your intuition and follow it precisely word by word gitu kan istilahnya, as if you were on a stage play gitu kan. Or you just let loose.
Which one do you prefer, like mostly?
I still mix it.
Oh, okay.
For things that I don't consider kayak not mission critical, I just let loose. Tapi kayak for important decisions, ya kan, I always look at the script.
Kalau untuk bisnis,
I
still mix it.
I look at the script.
Okay.
I mean that's what business leaders would call intuition in business, ya kan sebenarnya. I just have a more direct way to access it.
Okay.
But most people are already doing it through intuition, through feelings. Sometimes they nyebutnya vibe. Jadi gue nggak mau ini kayak who I am and what I do ini di describe kayak something yang kayak extraordinary or special gitu ya, atau kayak this is not a chosen one type of kayak experience gitu. This is what you experience every day. This is what every single person watching this experience every day. Tapi kalian manggilnya nyebutnya intuisi, feeling, firasat, vibe, ya kan, wangsit dan segala macem gitu. Just recognize that kayak it may have some helpful insights, it may have meaning. Again, it's the universe trying to nudge you in a certain direction. Again, hopefully in a positive way. But the most important thing adalah trust the intuition.
Oke, itu penting banget ya, apalagi buat yang suka sering ngerasa nyesel sama keputusan yang udah diambil gitu. Lo sendiri pernah ngerasa penyesalan gak sih? Kayak penyesalan yang besar gitu?
Usually in the short term ada sedikit penyesalan. Misalnya I make a decision and things don't happen a certain way the way I expected it. Ada penyesalan in the short term gitu. Tapi nanti kemudian setelah berapa lama baru kelihatan hikmahnya quote unquote gitu. Kayak baru kelihatan, oh iya gara-gara kemarin begini sekarang gue jadi kayak begini, jadi ketemu ini, jadi bisa ini gitu.
Jadi emang gak perlu diseselin lama-lama gitu ya?
Gak perlu diseselin lama-lama.
Oke, ini terakhir nih ya. Your best healing quote tuh apa sih?
My best healing quote?
Iya, yang membuat lo di dalam journey ini tuh kayak semakin yakin lagi, semakin semangat lagi.
I really love the Dune series by Frank Herbert. Okay. Gue bacain aja ya.
Yeah.
I always kayak keep these words close to heart soalnya. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. It's always been my favorite quote for the longest time, and it really means a lot karena I recognize what fear can do to your mind. Gue ada beberapa kali kejadian throughout my life lah ya, yang when the fear was so great, ya kan, that basically I got crippled. Kayak langsung nggak bisa ngomong, nggak bisa make decisions, nggak bisa function normally.
Kayak blocking langsung ya?
Iya, literally. Kayak bahkan kayak langsung kerasa keringat dingin gitu kan, atau rasa sesak nafas dan lain-lain gitu. For some people it can trigger heart attacks, ya kan, atau stroke, ya kan. It really is the mind killer. Dan I think the key in that quote adalah you have to let it flow through you and pass over you. You cannot resist it. You just to let it in and let it do its job, whatever it is, gitu kan, and let it leave when it has done their job. I think that's the point of the quote. The same case with pain. I think we are a society that is addicted to painkillers. Whenever something painful comes up in our body, we take painkillers.
Yeah.
Paracetamol, ibuprofen, ya kan, aspirin, and all these kayak different types of drugs. Basically, they're designed to numb the mind, to block the production of chemicals in the brain yang produce the sensation of pain. Okay? It doesn't do anything to resolve the root cause. It only blocks you from experiencing the pain.
Dan itu bakal comeback stronger gak sih menurut lo?
Yeah, because you will build tolerance and you need higher doses to block the pain. Padahal what you should do adalah you should just let it pass over you. And it will run its course. And when it has gone, only you will remain. Just like what the quote says, the pain will be gone.
Dan setelah itu passing through you, menurut lo kita akan jadi justru lebih kuat gak sih?
Yeah. You'll be a better person.
That's the game.
Out of it, yeah. I think
setelah itu ngelewatin kita jadi naik level gitu.
Iya, exactly. Kalau di game kan you complete a quest, you fight a boss, ya kan, you go through a dungeon.
Ibaratnya kalau kita numb the pain itu kayak apa ya kalau di game tuh? Kayak kita stuck aja udah di situ gitu ya.
Yeah, basically that. I mean, tapi lucunya people recognize this ketika mereka lagi nge-gym misalnya. Kalau orang baru mulai nge-gym beberapa minggu pertama pegel-pegel tuh sakit kan.
Iya.
Tapi they will always say nggak apa-apa, biarin aja, udah terusin aja. Itu awal-awalnya aja kok gitu. Nanti jadi lebih kuat lagi, jadi lebih ini lagi. Pasti pegel-pegel. And people recognize that. Tapi finally a lot of people don't recognize that in all other conditions gitu.
Berarti gym itu bisa dijadiin metafor juga gitu ya untuk kita
Bisa itu.
ngejalanin sesuatu yang lain yang selama ini kita ngerasa nggak kuat dan akhirnya harus namit sampai kita tuh kayak kebal dan nggak mampu ngelewatin challenge itu
Yeah.
gitu.
Don't numb your mind.
Mhm.
Fear is the mind killer. The little death that brings total obliteration. You will face your fear again, and then you will let it pass through you and run its course. And when the fear is gone, the pain is gone, only you will remain, a better you. Gitu kan.
Oke.
So, my favorite healing quote,
Iya, dan emang healing is all about menerima
Yes.
berbagai rasa itu ya,
Yeah.
termasuk rasa yang gak enak yang tadi juga udah kita
and
bahas.
painkillers are not healing.
Ya, it's
I think
not the
that's key.
answer ya.
Yeah.
Oke, terakhir banget yang mau lo sampein untuk orang-orang yang lagi memulai healing journey-nya. Ada dua sih sebenarnya. Satu yang baru memulai journey-nya sebagai seorang entrepreneur gitu, dan juga entrepreneur itu juga termasuk dia leader lah ya, ya nggak sih? Dan juga yang mereka yang baru memasuki perjalanan healingnya gitu, mulai ngelihat ke dalam, mulai bertanya who am I gitu. Silakan, kamera di sini. Ya entrepreneur dulu.
Don't compare your journey to anyone else's. Jangan kayak mikir, oh ini temen gue umur segini udah sampai di sini gitu kan. Gue di umur segini baru sampai segini. Comparison robs a lot of things that you're supposed to feel, happiness, satisfaction, dignity, etc. So don't compare yourselves to any other person in your journey. Gitu. Everyone has their own pace and their own stage. And just generally, I think you have to believe that something else is at work. There's a greater force at play in this universe. Some people call it God. Some people call it consciousness. Some people call it the universe. But you're not alone. We're not alone. We're guided every step of the way, actually. And the easiest way you can access it is through your intuition. And you have to always trust your intuition.
Oke. Dan untuk yang baru memulai perjalanan healingnya?
Yang baru mulai perjalanan healingnya, I guess I'll repeat that again. Pain killing is not healing. To resolve the pain, you have to go after the root cause. And in the process of healing, you have to face fear and pain. Again, you have to let fear and pain run their course through you, so that when they're gone, only you will remain. Again, quoting the quote. And the more we try to avoid fear or pain, the more we try to resist fear or pain, we'll build more tolerance. And naturally, the universe will respond with even greater fear or pain.
Yeah.
Because these two things simply need to run their course gitu kan. But if we build tolerance, then it might be just even get bigger and bigger. So just
kayak setting bom waktu aja gitu ya.
Yeah, just face it.
Yeah.
Accept it, embrace it, let it run its course.
Oke. Wow.
Whatever it is you're feeling nanti in your healing journey. Yeah.
Sweet message banget tuh seputar healing, karena banyak mungkin orang yang ketakutan untuk ngelewatin itu,
Ya,
tapi mungkin dengan encouragement ini jadi lebih semangat lagi gitu kan untuk oke, emang pain itu ada dan itu cuma sementara aja, temporary, jadi no worries. Jangan terlalu kayak stuck di situ, kayak panik gitu kan, tapi ya let it flow aja through you gitu. Oke, thank you so much ya Wafa.
Sama-sama.
Sebenarnya ada
Thank you,
masih
udah
banyak pertanyaan, cuma kayaknya harus ada episode lanjutannya.
Boleh.
Banyak banget yang masih pengen gue gali nih dari kayak pengalaman-pengalaman lo, termasuk mungkin kemampuan lo untuk dengan latihan itu ya untuk bisa connect ke yang non-dual itu yang mungkin masih banyak orang di sini yang butuh disemangatin gitu. Kalau kita sebagai manusia itu sebenarnya bisa loh untuk akses ke situ.
Absolutely.
Dan membuat mungkin hidup kita jadi lebih terarah gitu ya. Dan mungkin lebih semangat lagi apalagi buat yang lagi di semacam low vibration gitu. Kayak lagi susah bangkit lagi, nggak tahu gue mesti kemana, tujuan hidup gue nih nggak ngerti, kayak clouded banget gitu. Nah mudah-mudahan diskusi ini bisa bikin lo kayak lebih semangat lagi, at least lo nggak sendiri gitu.
Yeah.
Banyak juga orang yang baru memulai healing journey-nya dan kayak bingung gitu mesti arahnya kemana. Dan moga-moga dengan tadi mempelajari arti intuisi dan juga tips untuk mempertajam intuisi itu juga bisa ngebantu lo untuk bisa berjalan di hidup ini tuh lebih smooth dan lebih yakin lagi ya. Dan kalau lo mau share your healing journey gitu atau mungkin baru start untuk menjadi seorang entrepreneur, silakan tulis di kolom komen. Kalau gitu Wafanya pamit. Sekali lagi thank you so much ya.
Thank you.
Jangan kapok kalau gue undang lagi.
Sure, of course, anytime.
Dan kalau gitu Andaria juga pamit. Thank you all so much for watching and see you again on the next episode of Anthem, Andari and the Theater of the Mind. Bye. Ke tengah dong Pak.